What's going on? How's everybody doing? How is the the Corona quarantine stay at home life going? What are we like a week into this thing? We're always already starting to lose our minds. You can see I'm at a. I worked 2 shifts in the ER. I've got a couple night shifts ahead of me, and when I come to the Central Valley, hotel life. Um, Dr. David Hatton Savio, a basket. Things I've been thinking about the last couple days with this corona thing. A lot of talk about medications, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, prednisone. Um, should people be taking those? Should we be using those in the ICU? All that kind of stuff. I think we don't know. I think we're doing our best. It's a bit of a guess right now. Um, Good medicine takes time to do good studies to figure out not only like does it work. So let's say you give it to somebody, they get better. Were they going to get better anyway? You don't know unless you have a good study where you compare a lot of people that you gave it to with a lot of people that you didn't give it to. And then you also got to make sure that these medicines are safe and actually don't make people worse. So I'm in the camp where, yep, somebody's sick in the ICU. I'd probably give it to them, hydroxychloroquine and whatever the leading academics are using now. But I think we just need more information. It's so early. Emily Journal, Rena, welcome. Hope you guys are having a fun Saturday night. I'm just checking in here for a short minute before I go to work in a little bit. Something else that I've been thinking about. It's interesting how I'm certainly getting information from the New England Journal and from the Journal of the American Medical Association and from the CDC, but there's also an incredible amount of direct information that's just coming from doctors that are in the field in these Facebook groups. I've never really done that before, but it's such a great way to collaborate with other doctors, find out what they're doing, what they're struggling with, especially the ones that I'm in California, the ones that are ahead of us, whether that's like Seattle, Washington, or New York. They're probably, I don't know, a week or two ahead of where we are or on. It's really cool that that's opened up a kind of communication that we really haven't had in medicine before. It's like official conferences, and it's kind of like controlled by academics and universities. And this is just kind of a direct communication with people on the ground, which is really cool. And it's a very efficient way to cut the chase and find out what people are doing on the front lines over there. So that's really cool. These doctor Facebook groups. And not something that I'd experienced before. Staying distance and checking up on friends in Chicago. That's what you're up to. Thank you for all you're doing. You're welcome. You know, there's a lot of people. Hey, love bug. I see you. There's a lot of people who I was just working yesterday with an ER doctor colleague of mine who is 67 and she's got bad asthma. Now, there have been times where I've felt a little nervous for my own health. You know, it's a little bit of Russian roulette when you're going out there because we're probably going to get sick and get exposed and get corona, and some people are going to die. Not as bad as war, being older. I mean, I'm 41, she's 67, starting to get into a risky age group, and she's got asthma. And those are a couple of risk factors to get into trouble. So I really admire the colleagues of mine that are older, that have medical conditions, that are still stepping up to that front line. There's a lot of true heroes and bravery going on with this stuff. Thank you for your update. Thank you for update on what's actually going on. Bless you. Bless them. Bless the people that are been that right up in that as well. I was even thinking about the Target person today. I had to go get groceries and I went to Target and I was just thinking like the amount of I'm not seeing a ton of this stuff in the hospital. So the county that I'm working in only has 3 confirmed cases, which is nonsense because there's way more than 3 cases running around in this town. It's just been really difficult to get tests back, even up to a week, which is awful. Testing's been bad. It's been bad. Should have been so much better and different, and that's just a whole nother rant. Um, but don't forget the reality of what I'm seeing in the ER is regular ER stuff, abdominal pain, strokes, pneumonia, like stuff that, does this kid have appendicitis and things that don't have anything to do with coronavirus, like all that other irregular stuff, people falling and breaking hips. I had an old lady break her hip yesterday because she fell. Um, had somebody that we put just the same. And so it's like this is added on top of it. This was a little disturbing. And this is normal for this hospital I work in. But yesterday in the ER, they're already overwhelmed to begin with between beds and staffing and whatever. That makes me nervous because then my ER is going to be full of corona people on vents everywhere. And it's just going to be this logjam. I will say one good thing is I think volume, when the shit hits the fan, that's going to be a good thing to not go in, unless you really need to. So when should you go in if you get sick? I had a friend, healthy guy, 30s, smokes, got some chest pain and shortness of breath. And had been feeling kind of blah. Maybe he had corona, maybe he didn't. We were worried enough about the finger, and you could see the oxygen level. A normal oxygen level for a young healthy person is 99 or 100. His was normal. When it starts dropping, mid 90s, under 90, 88, I mean, you're going to feel all of that. But really, under 90, you need that tube, supplemental oxygen, a nasal cannula to breathe it in. It's too low. So he got in, got that checked. His oxygen level was okay. And then the other thing, ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. All that means, this is one of the big things that people get into trouble with corona, that they end up getting put on a ventilator, is all ARDS really means is that you don't have pneumonia, you don't have heart failure, and your lungs aren't working. Oxygen level was really low. And when you look at the x-ray, it looks like pneumonia, but it's not pneumonia. It's ARDS. It's kind of this exclusion. It's not pneumonia. It's not heart failure. It's this respiratory failure thing. In this case, be directly from the virus. It just causes this respiratory failure. And so anyway, he felt better afterwards. Who else do we have here? Hi, Amanda, Tamra, Sarah. Hi, Lori. The BB, I know who that is. Alexandra Fitzgibbon, hello. Amor Ronnie, hello. Do I know you? You want to be in my video? I don't know if I know you. Do I know you? I don't recognize that. Hi, Wendy. How are you guys doing? Out partying on this Saturday night. I like these virtual happy hours and all of these, virtual gatherings. I think human creativity is kind of coming together to, to help us get through this time. Amor Ronnie, I just don't know who you are. Do I know you? I don't think I know you. Hi, Crystal. So, what I thought was going to be coronavirus in an otherwise young, healthy person, but turned out that it was probably a different kind of lung infection, coccidiomycosis or valley fever, which is very common down here. But I have colleagues that are working in hospitals in the Bay Area, and their ICUs are starting to fill up with coronavirus ventilated patients. I think at Highland, like half of them are full of. Half of those ICU beds starting to fill up with coronavirus, so it's coming. It isn't crazy yet, but it's we're bracing here in California. We're bracing. I think New York and Washington is ahead of us, and it's certainly not Italy proportions, but this shit's real, man. Like the brace yourself preparation. So one thing, and I predicted this a week ago, but you're starting to see in the news media, oh, the cases of corona are shooting up 50% in the United States. It's because we're testing now, and the test results that we sent Monday got back on Thursday. And so of course the numbers are like this. If the numbers are going up like this in the media, what that meant was a week or two ago, cases were probably, cases are going to continue. Like the reality that the virus is spreading and people are getting it, we don't have a good barometer really on that. We don't know because we haven't been testing. And that was a big fuck up. Can I say that on my little Amor Ronnie? You can ask your questions. This is what Instagram Live is about. Yeah, so I'm working I'm working 2 night shifts and then I'm off for a little bit, and it's still in this winter is coming preparation. Like, we're not at full blown war, but it's coming. One of my dermatology friends who works for Kaiser, they were actually sending out things to train a dermatologist on how to do hospital medicine. That's crazy that a dermatologist might be taking care of sick people in the hospital. That's like administrators are trying to anticipate, what if this gets really bad and we have a big doctor shortage? How are we going to take care of sick people? Let's bring in the dermatologist. Now, my dermatologist colleagues are excellent, but that's what people are worried about. Brent, I was running today. I saw like 100 people at Ocean Beach, groups together and everything. What are these guys doing? They're not doing their part. That would be bad. That would be bad. Wendy, what are you laughing about? Emily, oh my gosh, what are you laughing about? Amor, where are your questions, Amor? You've been saying you got these questions. I'm waiting for them. House of Cherish. Shh. House of Cherish. Yeah, so we're still kind of preparing. It's, so I'm like looking, we do our work schedule way in advance. I'm looking at July and I'm like, is this still going to be the madness? What's going to be going on in July? How long are we going to keep this isolation business up? People, I'm starting to crack, and I get to go out and go to work and be sort of normal. I mean, I don't know. Crazy times. Yeah. There's all these memes going around about, don't buy masks or you're going to be intubated by a gynecologist, which is pretty funny because they work in vaginas. So, what do you want to put in a speculum in your throat? It's funny. Or a dermatologist or any of them. How do you get rid of fleas? Clean your bed. Next. Hey. Yeah, nothing. Treat the bites. You just get rid of the fleas. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't know that I have a lot more to say. Politics is politics. A lot of crazy stuff going on between $1 trillion, political things. And, it's still interesting to watch. There's a group of people who are kind of don't believe this. There's conspiracy theories. There's, all kinds of things to observe about this wonderful world we live in and how it's operating in this time of crisis. What is your up? Talking about, Wendy. Are you single? We're talking about coronavirus here, kids. You can see he's being muzzled a little bit. So he's having to be political about some of the things that he's saying if you watch the news conferences. I think, for example, he has lobbied for domestic airlines to be closed because he thinks that will help to prevent transmission in the U.S. And politically, Trump has to answer to those businesses and Wall Street. And they're saying, hey, keep it open for the sake of money and for people's ability to, travel and essential travel back and forth. But I think Dr. Anthony Fauci is a legit. Nobody questions his, integrity as a scientist and as kind of a leading guy on this. But politics always gets involved when you're talking about national policy and stuff at that level. I don't have any insight beyond that. But there was, if you look in the news, you could see he laughed at Trump and then he covered his face. He pulled one of these in response to how Trump handled one of the questions. That's tough. That messaging and that's challenging, but he's no rookie to these situations. And I trust him. I think most of us in medicine trust him. That's my opinion of Fauci. I think he's somebody you can trust. House of Cherish. Any recommendations for natural supplements to take? No. Stress, getting run down, paying attention to your mental health. Number 3. Number 4, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. I think a well-balanced diet with enough protein is enough. I don't know that supplements and vitamins, and I don't buy into that stuff. I think it's more nonsense and a waste of money than stuff. And I think these people hawking this stuff, there's a special place in hell right now with what they're doing with people's fears. How do we take to ease the corona symptoms? So I talked about this the other day in an article. If you get corona and you have fever, Tylenol for fever for most people, 650 milligrams. You could take 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram of Tylenol 4 times a day. There's a little controversy about ibuprofen. French minister came out and said, look, we've had some cases where it looks like people get sicker when they have corona and they take ibuprofen. World Health Organization and a lot of American doctors have said, well, we're not impressed. We don't think the evidence is enough to convince us to stop taking ibuprofen. If you're worried about it, take Tylenol. That dextromethorphan, DM, that's the cough suppressant, so it stops the cough a little bit. But the guafenicin, that's the Robitussin, it breaks up the mucus so you can kind of hawk it up. So that's why I like that Robitussin DM, but that would be the cough medicine. Don't forget that allergies are going around right now. So if you're somebody who gets allergies, don't neglect your nose. Flonase, Nasonex, that could be some of your symptoms too. Is it okay to go run and exercise outside keeping the 6 feet? Yes, I think so. I think that's actually a good thing. Depending on where you are, that can be easily done. If you're in Manhattan, New York, that's not going to be easy, right? Like, it's hard to go outside as long as you're keeping a distance from people. I think it's probably healthy. And I don't think long term that we're going to survive if we're just locked down inside for months. I think going outside like that. Bad cough and shortness of breath, but no fever. Probably fine. What do you mean shortness of breath? Cough and fever can be okay. Shortness of breath. What do you mean? Shortness of breath can be trouble. So you are a young, healthy person. I don't know if you have asthma. I don't know your medical history. If you have asthma, if you're prone to pneumonia, if you're older with COPD, whatever, once you start having difficulty breathing where you're like, gosh, I always feel like or like you're going upstairs and you're like, I'm just out of breath. Like, you need to get checked. That's one of the times where it's like, I need to get checked. If you're not sure, you got to call your doctor, and hopefully that person knows you and your health. The other thing is, so is it something or is it anxiety? There's a lot. I have anxiety for this damn shit. With all of this stress and everything going around, that's so common. So teasing that out is often not easy without a professional. If you're worried, call your doctor. But shortness of breath is the beginning of a red flag. Yep. So no asthma, but was at conferences all last month. I know you a little bit, and my guess is you're worried. Everybody's worried. If you feel, again, especially if you're walking, you're going upstairs, you're exerting yourself, if it seems like that's when it really kicks in, then I would be more concerned. Anxiety stuff, I like people. The people who are more kind of anxious about it, they'll tell me, especially at the end, go in and they would put a little probe on your finger and check your oxygen level, your oxygen saturation. Is it 99 and 100 and fine, or are you, getting into trouble? Mid 90s, under 90, and on down. And you would check a chest X-ray, and you would look for abnormalities in the chest X-ray, pneumonia, and infiltrates, and things like that. House of Cherish, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Leonardo, what's going on? Dom, what are you doing to lift? You got some home gyms? Gold's is closed. Dom was my trainer. Dom's large. He's a big man. Yeah, he's got a lot of meat. A lot of meat on that bone. Those bones. A lot of mice. What you got? Some home stuff going on. Ms. R. Sep 24, anxiety is my issue. You know what? You are not alone with anxiety being your issue. A, in general, so many people have anxiety. And B, nowadays, where there's a collective anxiety, and it's just easy for this to get to you a little bit, stress you out, and just dial it up, dial that stress out just a little bit. It's a pretty normal thing. So what I would ask you, Ms. R. Sep 24, what helps? How do you cope with your anxiety? How do you cope with this stress, in a marathon kind of way? Because it looks like we're going to be dealing with this for weeks to months, not just another week, right? How do you cope with that? What helps? What do you do? Do you exercise? Go on little walks? Do you talk to people? Do you take hot baths with candles? And what's the worst case scenarios? That's a lot of the stuff that the media is delivering. Look, these public health guys, their job is to think about the worst case scenario and then intervene now, do what we can to prevent that. It doesn't mean that that is what's going to happen. It just means we want to take off the table even a 20% possibility that that may happen. That's their job. It's not your job to be up to date every second on the public health maneuvers that we're doing on big policy levels. It's just you to do your job is just to do your part and to manage this. And for a lot of us, it means turn off the news. Stop watching this shit on TV and in the media. Like, stop reading it. I had a patient who came in with a panic attack because she couldn't stop reading all of the headlines. So you got to take care of yourself. Your mental health. So I was curious, what do you do? I did workout over Zoom this morning. Crazy times. It is. Wendy, 1,000%. You're a therapist. Of course you see that. So anxiety is. Jay Valerie, appreciate this. Thanks. It's nice to hear. Anxiety is very common. It could be an opportunity for you to kind of figure out some coping mechanisms that you have, now that work now, and then there's going to be other stress in life and so forth. Yeah, anxiety, a big thing. There's a lot of folks, and I'll just ask them when they're my patients in the ER, if they're coming in with anything like it, cough, shortness of breath, anything. I'll just say, are you worried this could be corona? Let's talk about it. What's the right thing to do? In the ER, most of my job is listening to somebody, checking them out, running the appropriate tests, all that. But most of the time, I'm able to reassure people, your chest pain is not a heart attack. You don't have anything to worry about. This cough is not pneumonia. I know you were worried about that. How you're feeling off with the blahs. That's what Tom Hanks called it, the blahs. That's what corona felt like. I know you're feeling off with the blahs or these chills or whatever. It's not corona. So you can reassure people. But what else? I don't know. God, we've been going for about 30 minutes. I'm probably going to cut this thing off here in a minute. Oh, Uncle Scott. Staying in here in Kansas City. Right on. Best practices. Wash hands and don't touch your face, along with social distancing. Correct? That's right. Yep. Those are the best practices. You see a lot of these people on the beach partying and these big gatherings. I mean, that would be bad. Those would be no-nos right now. None of that stuff. But yeah, that's doing your part. I think another thing, Ed, kind of being mentally strong. If you've got high blood pressure, diabetes, get those numbers under control, get on the right medicines. If you've got asthma or lung disease, COPD, make sure you're on the right inhalers. If you smoke, stop. Because if you get this virus, that's just an added risk factor for you to get into trouble. Great time to stop smoking. Your life may depend on it. Like, there are people who are smoking that will die because they get the virus and they were smoking, without a doubt. Stop smoking. Great time to stop smoking. So, but in terms of, yeah, preventing the spread of it, wash your hands, avoid people that have it. If you go out to the grocery store, to whatever, try to maintain that distance and stay away from people, and that's what you can do. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. I think I'm going to wrap this thing up. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and how we're coping with all this stress, and hang in there. Wendy, you are welcome. Emily, that's a nice heart. Right back at you. Can I send those little things? I guess I can comment on that thing probably too. Feel free to message me with questions or anything. I'll do my best to answer. And take care of yourselves.